You are listening to RetroLovers Radio, your go-to broadcast for positive nostalgia.
What a wonderful night. You're listening to Retro Lovers Radio, a space for 80s and 90s music, memories, and for positive nostalgia. At some point in the early 80s, synthesizers stopped being futuristic experiments and became the sound of everyday radio. You didn't need to know what a synthesizer was to feel it. You just turned on the radio and suddenly music sounded different. Brighter, cleaner, more electronic, more emotional in a strange new way. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the moment when synth didn't just appear in pop music, but they took over the airwaves. In the late 70s, synthesizers were still seen as experimental tools. They belonged to progressive rock, to electronic pioneers, to underground scenes. But the early 80s changed everything. One of the clearest turning points was Cars by Gary Newman from 1979, which quietly opened the door. By the time we reached 1981 to 1982, that door was wide open. Let's start with the Human League and Don't You Want Me from 1981. This song is a perfect example of synth becoming mainstream storytelling tools. The entire track is built around electronic textures, and yet it feels human, dramatic, and emotional. The synth don't replace feeling, they carry it. Then came Depeche Mode, especially with songs like Just Can't Get Enough from 1981. Simple melodies, bright synth lines, danceable rhythms, and suddenly electronic music wasn't cold anymore. It was kind of joyful. Another massive moment arrived with Eurythmics and Sweet Dreams Are Made of This in 1983. That bass synth line is instantly recognizable. Minimal but hypnotic and relentless. Annie Lennox's voice floats above the electronics, creating contrast, human warmth against mechanical repetition. And radio embraced it. Then there's a New Order, especially Blue Monday from 1983. Even though it came from a post punk background, it became one of the most influential tracks of the decade. With drum machines, sequencers, and synth bass, it didn't sound like rock anymore, it sounded like the future. What made synth driven music work so well on radio was clarity. Synth cut through speakers. They sounded clean even on cheap radios. They survived compression. Producers like Trevor Horn understood this perfectly. Listen to Video Kill the Radio Star or Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood or Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes. These songs were engineered for modern listening, for modern listening environments. Synths weren't just instruments, they were design choices. By the mid 80s, synths were everywhere. Tears for Fears with Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Aha with Take On Me, Pet Shop Boys with West End Girls, Soft Cell with Tainted Love. Even rock bands started embracing them. Synths didn't kill guitars, they expanded the palette of sounds, and listeners adapted quickly because synths didn't just change how music sounded, but they changed how music felt. They created atmosphere, different mood, and space. They turned songs into environments. If you love exploring deeper how these sounds shaped an entire decade, remember that Retro Lovers Radio comes alive every weekend. Every Friday night, we go live with the 90s Lovers Show, and every Saturday night with the 80s Lovers Show, both at 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel and our Kick channel. We gather for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes on YouTube live stream as a kind of waiting room to allow some time for most people to come and join. And then I share the link to Kick, and I will um, start the live stream directly on Kick with the full shows, the full video clips, and you can decide whether you want to participate or not, and where to participate, because we all know that Kick chat on their live stream is not as good as YouTube. So if you don't like to participate on much on the Kick chat, you can do so by comments on our Facebook group. So make sure you join our public Facebook group, searching for Retro Lovers Radio 80s and 90s Nostalgia. I will read all the comments there as well. And you can leave your comments, request songs, or send your audio messages through our page. That is the same name of the group. And even call in to share your memories live on air with me. So synth didn't erase emotion from music. They gave it a new language. They allowed artists to express feelings in textures, patterns, and atmospheres, not just chords and riff. And once radio embraced that language, there was no going back. The 80s didn't just use synthesizers, they made them feel human throughout time. So now I'm curious, which synth driven 80s song instantly comes to your mind when you think of that sound? Drop it in the comments on YouTube and tell me why it still resonates with you. And before I go, remember to remind you to take care of your loved ones and remember what is truly important in your life. All the rest is secondary. Alright, everyone, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. And Mick, and this was Retro Lovers Radio.